No, she just now stuck them here. They're extra, so you can do whatever else.
That's terrible.
That's good, yeah. I will. I made that too.
Farther away from it.
Susan Campbell, you already have? Okay.
You got these three. Okay. Showtime.
Water pressure's coming from that mop line. I guess. Unless that's,
Are they getting more chairs, you know?
I think they are.
Okay.
Back there cooking something.
They're making some more chairs back there.
Julia Child.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. This is the 24th day of June 2019. Is that right?
Sounds good.
So we have two public hearings. First, a public hearing on a request for the city to declare .212 acres of unimproved right-of-way, Bel Air Drive extension, west of Cumberland Avenue as surplus real property for sale. Anyone in the audience wish to address the board at this time regarding this public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close that public hearing. We'll open the second public hearing on the proposed annual budget ordinance for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019 and ending June 30th, 2020. Anyone in the audience wish to address the board on that issue? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearings and we'll open the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Alderman. We're very pleased to have Reverend Lynn Hendricks with us tonight.
Do the roll call?
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
You've been here more than I have. Ms. Goldman.
Mayor Lane Curley.
Here, partially.
Mayor Pro Tem King. Alderperson Blanks.
I'm here.
Thank you. Duncan.
Here.
Gunn. Here. Noes. Mathis.
Here.
Looks like there's 5 present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. So our parliamentarian, we're going to ask to step to the podium, who's also a reverend, by the way, Lynn Hendricks. Ask everyone to please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
With all due respect, Mr. Mayor, you need to appoint a parliamentarian to your midst. Let's pray, shall we? Great and Heavenly Father God, we thank you for your loving kindness that you show to us in so many ways. It's a great day when we awaken and our chest is rising and falling and our heart's beating inside our chest. And we owe all that to you. It's a great day when our city prospers, and it's a day of great need when our citizens are in distress. And we pray for justice and mercy and blessing on this city. I pray for the leadership in every department that you would guide the thoughts and the plans of the directors and that you would move them to do what is right and just for your people. We thank you for your kindness to this town, and we pray that you would continue to bless us. And we ask all this with humility in the name of the one true God. Amen. Amen. Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Hendricks. So let the record reflect that Mr. Alderman Noes is in Memphis at a Tennessee Municipal League meeting, or he would be here. So let me call on Parks and Rec Director Kurt Glick. I think you've got some people that you'd like to recognize for a job well done. in a recent event in Tullahoma.
Well, I have to say first, I'm happy so many people came out to congratulate the Soapbox Derby winners tonight. Okay, we'll start out. This was the 20th annual Soapbox Derby we had this year, and we're really pleased to have 4 new winners. Some of them will go on to represent us in Akron, Ohio in the big race and later in July. The first winner we had in the stock division is Will Harrison. Is Will here tonight? No? Okay. We'll go on. We'll make sure he can get his certificate. And Alyssa Goon in the super stock division. She's a 2-time winner.
Remember her. Would you like to say anything?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out to congratulate us tonight.
Wow.
Okay, and the winner in the Masters division was Russell Simmons.
Mr. Simmons, would you like to say anything? Did he want to say anything? No.
And the winner in our Super Kids division was Kaysen Wilkerson. Yes, sir. Well, can I get the winners back up here for a picture?
Come on. And then if you guys will open your, open it up like this. All the way around like that. Yep, perfect. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay, we have one short proclamation this evening. This is Parks and Recreation Month, for those of you that do not know that. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout the country, including Tullahoma, Tennessee. And whereas parks and recreation are vitally important to the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of the community and region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease and improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase the community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Mayor and Alderman that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in Tullahoma, Tennessee. So congratulations to all those involved in Parks and Recreation in Tullahoma. Okay, due to the fairly recent resignation of Dr. Steve Lynn on the Board of Education, there's a position open, and so we put the call out for any Tullahoma citizen that is interested in serving on the Board of Education to complete a citizen participation form. And we've had a number of citizens that have expressed interest in serving. And in fact, it's really an outstanding group. I think all the aldermen would agree that it's really an outstanding group of people that have stepped forward and willing to serve. So what I like to do is, with Alderman permission, is that I'm going to ask each of the individuals that have expressed interest to step to the podium and answer just a couple of very basic questions. Why do you want to serve? What qualifications do you think you offer to the board? And then open the floor up for any other comments that you would like to make as well. And then after each presentation, you'll have 5 minutes maximum. Ms. Golden, can you help me watch 5 minutes? Have 5 minutes maximum. And then if any of the aldermen or myself have any questions, we'll direct them to the candidate at that time. Once those are complete, then later on the agenda is when we will have the nominations and the selection of a Board of Education member that will serve the balance of Dr. Lynn's term. So what I've done, actually I didn't, somebody else did at my request, but I've got everybody's name right here. So to be fair, I'm just going to pick a name and ask them to step to the podium. See, the first name is Sonia Tucker. She is not able to be here tonight, and everyone was given an opportunity to attend or to send a statement in. So this is her statement. First, let me apologize for not being able to attend the meeting on Monday. I would like to tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm interested in the open seat on the Board of Education. I've been married for 37 years. I have 3 daughters and 8 grandchildren. From an early age, the best interest of children has always been an avid part of the way that I've lived my life. I have had my own daycare business for 32 years. Through this timing of owning my daycare, I've had the opportunity to be involved in conversations with parents about the specific wants and needs they have for their child in regards to their education. Although all parents want what is best, the road to get to the best does not take the same path from child to child. Thank you for the opportunity to be thought of for this open seat. I hope you pick the best person to serve the children of the city of Tullahoma. Thank you, Sonia Tucker. Nick Judkins is here, I believe. So, Mr. Judkins, let me ask you to step to the podium and answer those 2 questions, and then anything else that you'd like to say. Welcome.
Yes, sir. You asking me, or
Yes.
would you like me to speak?
Yep, no, the floor is yours.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name is Nick Judkins, and I applied for the interim board seat. I attended Robert E. Lee Elementary, I attended East Middle School, and I graduated from Tullahoma High School in 2007. Upon graduating from Middle Tennessee State, my wife and I moved to Central Florida, where we had 2 beautiful daughters. This community played such a large role in my childhood that we decided that we needed to come back home. So we moved 700 miles, gave up jobs, and came back to home. My wife took a job at Robert E. Lee. She's a teacher. Started in the 3rd grade, currently is in the 1st grade, and I took a position in a field that I had little experience and no guarantee for income. My wife and I have 2 daughters enrolled in TCS right now, 1 more coming in the next few years. I have a vested interest in the education of this school system and this community for at least the next 2 decades, and hopefully much further beyond that. I will not only advocate for my children, but all students of this community. They're the future of our community, and they need strong, dedicated people to speak up and invest in their futures. My upbringing and my professional experience have provided me the skills to be a contributing member of this board. I have a strong background for looking at complex issues from a different vantage point to develop a different perspective to meet that need. I'm a realist. I'm very analytical. I'm even-tempered and have pretty sound judgment that I think would bring a new voice of collaboration and leadership to the school board. If I were to be elected to serve in this interim position, I'd like to ensure that all students have a path to graduate and are on that right track, that they're equipped with the skills that they need to be contributing members of this country. I would ensure that TCS employs and retains the highest quality educators and mentors out there. I would also ensure that they have a direct voice to speak with the board of directors. I would ensure that the community provides resources to protect and enrich students when they're not at school. I would also ensure that the relationship between the school board and the public is improved. Lastly, of course, we will only pursue result-driven policies and budgets that provide outstanding returns for all of our taxpayers and students alike. I know that I can bring value to this board. I don't have an educational background. I have an open mind, and I promise to be strong, but not to be rude. I promise to be kind, but not to be weak. I promise to be proud, but not arrogant. And I promise to always fight for what's right. Okay? I believe that this board is in need of diversity and new perspective. I believe that education is the foundation for which we're building our future, and I would like to help our town build it. So that's why I've applied.
Good. Very good, thank you. Any questions, Mr. Jenkins? My recollection is all Board of Education members are required to take some hours of continuing education during the year. Would you, if you are selected, would you agree to take those continuing education hours?
If that was a requirement, yes, sir.
Okay.
If you were to have this position, would this be something that you would consider rerunning for in 2020?
To be honest, it's something that I'd already considered running for, and felt like this opportunity was kind of a calling for me to try and get my foot in the door now. If all goes well, yes, ma'am, I would run again in 2020.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you, guys.
Let's see, Harry Conway. I don't see him here, and I was not provided the statement from him, so I don't, we'll move on. Do you have one?
But I don't know, it was on my desk up here.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys all got it or not. Okay.
Okay, so,
You guys have it?
okay. Honorable Mayor and Alderman, I would like to express my appreciation for your invitation to present my qualifications in regards to the vacant membership position for the Tullahoma City School Board. Regrettably, I will not be able to attend tonight's meeting to discuss my qualifications. I will be busy presenting material and education to a group of mothers that are part of the Coffee County Healthier Beginnings. The presentation will provide valuable information to mothers in their own protection and the protection of their children during moments of domestic violence. To provide a small background of myself, I am married with 7 adult children and 6 grandchildren. I am a member of the Tullahoma Police Department, serving as the Criminal Investigation Division Sergeant, supervising criminal investigators, a school resource officer, and an evidence technician. I've been in law enforcement for 30 years and currently serve as the Vice President of 2 federal and state of Tennessee task forces for juvenile justice and child sex abuse under the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth. I am the President for the Harris Rackler Memorial Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 48. I am serving as a member of the Coffee County Anti-Drug Coalition Board, and I've also served as a law enforcement representative for several local organizations concerning the youth or the service of justice regarding victims of crime. I'm very interested in continuing serving my fellow citizens in our great community as a member of the Tullahoma City School Board. I believe I have several key qualifications that would make a valuable addition to giving back to our most valuable resource, our children. Signed, respectfully submitted, Harry Conway. Okay, next is Sid Hill. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sid Hill, and it's truly my pleasure to stand before you today. This is new to me, but education is not new to me, which is why I decided to put my name in for this, I think, prestigious position. Normally, I would start with my educational attainment and my work experience. However, I think for this particular position, it's vitally important to tell you about the history of the Hill family, the Sims family, and the Cooper family, and Tullahoma school system. My mother actually was part of the senior class that went through integration. So that's been several years ago, obviously. I'm a product of the Tullahoma school system myself, and I can tell you it's because of Tullahoma that I've been able to pursue my educational attainment and my professional goals. So with that being said, let's start with a little bit about who I am and my expertise and how I can better suit you as a board member. Well, I have experience teaching in the K-12 system. I think that's vitally important as we look at educational school board members. We need people who know education, especially those who are implementing policy. After serving as a middle school and high school teacher, I served as a 504 coordinator, so I'm familiar with those who have exceptionalities and disabilities. In addition, I served as a family resource center, and in 1 year, my colleague and I were able to work with and partner with, which is very important, with local educational agencies, institutions, and organizations, and local businesses to help serve over 400 students in one academic year. After serving as a 504 coordinator, I served as an instructor for Martlow State Community College in the field of education, the Department of Education. I was promoted from instructor to assistant professor, there's a difference, assistant professor. After that, I was then promoted to academic assessment specialist, As many of you know, assessment is key to the successful continuous improvement of our educational system. And assessment is not decreasing. I know those in the school board, if they're in the audience, they know that it's steadily growing and it's vitally important to the sustainability and success of our city and school system. What really intrigued me about this, and I thought, well, Sid, is this something that really aligns with you, is the fact that prior to my current position, I served as Director of Institutional Effectiveness and Assessment. So I was overseeing strategic planning, worked with assessment to make sure continuous cycle improvements occurred, using data to make sure we did continuous improvement. And I was also a leader of the SACS COC. I know for the K-12 system is SACS, but I'm actually a trained reviewer for the SACS COC, which is the Commission on Colleges. Currently, I serve as the Academic Dean of the Moore County campus, where I oversee academic programs, work with faculty, and look at policy and procedures. So I guess the question you asked is, why did I choose this? Why me? It was a very hard decision, but I realized many times in education, we have people from the community. But I think it's also time for us to have people who know education, to make sure that before we start looking at policies and procedures, we know what's going on in the classroom. Our teachers, our administrators, providing support to those who are actively in the field, our principals, our teachers aide, or educational assistants now as we call them. I really believe that I can be a partner. I'm currently on the board of directors for the Tullahoma Daycare, where I read to the students and try to promote, which I believe is one of the 4 characteristics or category responsibilities for a school board member, where I try to promote literacy to young children because they're going into the pipeline. I believe in equity, that all children can succeed, but it's up to us. And I realized, I said to myself, Sid, if you want change, you have to be a part of that change. Use your expertise, your education. I'm completing my doctorate in this summer, qualitative case study, and use all of these things to help with the betterment of our children. We want to see them succeed, and it would be less of me as an individual and a man not to be a part. Not to mention that I think it's vitally important that I have a vested interest. 2 young daughters back here. I said, whether dad gets it or not, you need to see the process, because everything is a learning experience. Okay? And so she's at Tullahoma High School. Kudos to the principal there. And the baby girl, who is shy, will be attending middle school. But I also think it's important that our school board member should have a vested interest and be a member of the community, and also potentially, if possible, have children in the community, because that is truly a vested interest. I won't belabor my point any longer, but I do want to thank you, and I hope that you have found my experience, my educational attainments, and what little verbiage I've said to you to serve as kind of a guide for choosing me as a candidate. I know due to time, you may not have time to look at my cover letter, but I also have a few copies of my vita, which will provide you with additional information pertaining to my experience. Again, thank you so much, and regardless of whatever you choose, I just hope you choose what's best for the children.
So let me open the floor for any questions. Ms. Dunn?
At any given time, how many students do you think are at Motlow who are either Tullahoma City graduates or who are like dual enrollment children and maybe even because, I mean, our job, honestly, because we're serving the entire community, do you know of homeschooler children who are within Tullahoma City limits who might be? Can you give us some numbers?
Ooh, I hate to quote data because I was Director of Institutional Effectiveness. I know you don't quote data, ladies and gentlemen, unless you have it in front of you. But I will tell you this. I almost have to look at the principal of this one. We probably have 50 or 60 from Tullahoma High School. At least that are dual enrollment. But what's interesting, I'm telling you a secret that my president and Motlow probably would get upset about. Dual enrollment across our institution among the well in the hundreds of our freshman incoming class. We have about 1,600 students on Moore County class in the fall, and I hope I'm not sharing too much, but normally in spring you have this thing called attrition. So you're always going to have less students in the spring than the fall. Unfortunately, some of them like me when I was younger, party a little too much, and may not come back. But we try to get them back. But I would say somewhere, I hate to quote your number, Alderman Dunn, 400 or 500 at least incoming freshmen, I would think.
Okay.
Somewhere around.
Any other questions?
Let me stop. That's Coffee County and Tullahoma. So I'll probably say Tullahoma about 200, 150, 200. Is that fair enough? Is that anything?
The number may be a little high right now because we have a smaller senior class. I do know that we had, at one time this past year when we checked on it, I believe we had roughly 120 classes being taken through dual enrollment. Now, there were some of those students who were taking 3 and 4 classes, so.
And when I'm including,
head count.
and I'm including that in incoming freshmen, so
If you were to get this position, would you consider rerunning in 2020?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Any other questions?
I have to continue education credit, so that's part of my job. Go ahead.
You are about to finish the doctoral program, you said?
Yes, and my mother reminds me every day, son, when I'm going to see that hood, but that doctoral hood. Yes, I have already collected my data, RB approved, and so I'm just finishing my chapters now.
So let me ask you the same question. If you are selected, would you agree to take the continuing education classes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But
Thank you.
any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Hill. Jenna Almacher. Again, I don't have. Welcome.
Hello. Okay, before I start, I did not attach a copy of my curriculum vitae to my citizen participation form.
If you'll give those to Ms. Moody, she'll distribute them.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Jenna Renee Almacher. I am a Tullahoma native, a graduate of Tullahoma High School, an early honors graduate. In fact, my graduating class was 2005, but I actually graduated in 2004. I was one of those Franklin County Tullahomians, and therefore I actually paid the tuition to attend Tullahoma City Schools because I know of its worth. That was in the pre-stages of the early dual joint enrollment, and I was one of the first classes to get to take advantage of that program, in which I graduated with a semester of Motlow done whenever I got my high school diploma in December of 2004. Since that time, I went on to MTSU and received a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science with an emphasis in public administration. I minored in secondary education, sociology, and economics. The whole time I was actually in undergrad, I knew that I wanted to go to law school. I eventually wanted to attend law school, but I have hopes and goals and dreams and ambitions of eventually of a legislative fashion, if you will. So I like to spend my time now lobbying and doing philanthropist type work, advocating for special issues to my heart, and obviously education is one of them. So post MTSU, I went on to receive my Doctor of Jurisprudence from Nashville School of Law in 2015. During all the while I was going to law school at night, 3 nights a week, I was a high school teacher during the day. And I also ran a mail route on Saturdays and sold real estate on the side, and now I'm a bail bondsman and a process server as well. So I am no stranger to hard work. And what I think is most important about having the Doctor of Jurisprudence is I'm very well aware not only of boots on the ground, what teachers face every day, but I'm also aware of the laws in this nation and in this state that affect education. One of which being is the Every Student Succeeds Act that replaced No Child Left Behind. And that has changed our goals and our strategy for the upcoming several years. And so we have to make sure that the goals that we have for our education system are what we call SMART goals. Those specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based goals that we have objective measurements and that we can look and see where we're at by using assessments and by using data. But a test score is not our end game. That's not what we're looking for. We want to turn out citizens that are not only going to be college and career ready, but they're going to be workforce ready, and they're going to have the skills and the notions of a citizen that's going to advocate for their community, just like I'm doing right now. And so I just want you to think about, what it takes to be workforce ready. And that requires that we create these partnerships within our community with all of the stakeholders. And stakeholders are not just parents, students, teachers, and faculty and staff. Stakeholders are the surrounding colleges. Stakeholders are businesses in the community. Stakeholders are the future employers. Stakeholders are industry in the community. We need to see what gaps we have in our market and what industry is looking to hire and what skills they're looking and needing to hire for, so that we can prepare the next generation of leaders. So I hope to be a servant to all of those stakeholders. I was actually talking earlier today to an individual who has a special needs child in Tullahoma City Schools. And she said, it's just so crucial right now that we have somebody that understands what an IEP is at a K-12, in a K-12 aspect. And also that understands 504s and also understands what the Individuals with Disability Education Act is, the IDEA, and what least restrictive environments can do for our children, and the fact that these policies, these laws, these federal initiatives are not choices. We have to make them happen, and we also have to be fiscally conservative and responsible while we're making them happen. So I consider myself to be a philanthropist, a zealous advocate. I've got 8 years of teaching experience. One of those years I spent working for a nonprofit to reduce recidivism, and I taught computer information technology to inmates. The rest of those I have taught everything from criminal justice, English. I'm highly qualified to teach anything 4th through 8th grade, sociology, economics, government. And so I have a wide array of teaching experiences, and right now I'm actually teaching in Rutherford County schools and learning some best practices. They know how to do things up there. I'm just gonna level with you, and they are a bigger system, but I feel like I'm soaking in and learning a lot from them to use not only in the classroom but to bring here to Tullahoma City Schools. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions?
If you were to receive this position, would you consider rerunning in 2020?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely would.
So once again, let me ask, the State Board of Education requires continuing education credits, as I recall. Would you agree to take those if you're selected?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Armaker. Tina Holman Owens is not here. I will not be able to make the meeting tonight. My intent was to be there for the 5 minutes that was given to each person interested in serving on the school board. I would enjoy serving on the board. I have a heart for good education for all children and adults. I currently have 3 grandchildren that have graduated from Coffee County and Tullahoma High School. I also currently have 2 granddaughters going into the 11th grade, one in the 6th grade, one in 2nd grade, and the other going to kindergarten, all in the city school system. I was an assistant teacher and substitute teacher in the 90s for the Franklin County School District. I am currently the director for Shepherd's House, our local homeless shelter. Please consider me for the school board seat. Sincerely, Tina Holman Owen. Susan Campbell is not here this evening, and here is her statement. To Mayor Curley and Alderman Blanks, Duncan, Dunn, Mathis, Keene, and Noes, thank you for the opportunity to be considered for a position as interim board member on the Tullahoma City Schools Board of Education. You have several qualified candidates from which to choose, and I'd like to outline a few of the reasons why I feel my experience would serve as an asset to the existing board, its members, and staff. In 2005, I had the privilege of being elected to serve on the school board. During that time, the board members, with the help of former Director Dr. Dan Lawson and his staff, oversaw the construction of the new East Lincoln Elementary School and Wilkins Stadium, as well as the refurbishment of the THS Auditorium. I chose not to seek re-election due to my transfer from the Manchester Times to the Tullahoma News in 2008, where I served as editor until retiring in March of 2018. Now I feel my experience as a board member, as well as training through the Tennessee School Boards Association, could be put to use once again. I am a native of Tullahoma, having attended school here. My parents paid tuition to send me to the city schools since we resided in Franklin County. My children all attended and graduated from Tullahoma City Schools and have gone on to successful careers in their chosen fields. I also serve on the board of the nonprofit Tullahoma Daycare Center. I'm a former board member of the Tullahoma Area Chamber of Commerce and volunteer with both the Bookshelf, run by the Adult Literacy Council, and the Friends of the South Cumberland, where I serve as a trail friend and often lead hikes through one of South Cumberland's most beautiful areas. I enjoyed my time on the school board and know from that experience that we have one of the best boards in the state. The job is not easy, and the board can't make everybody happy all the time. But a board member's top priority, in coordination with staff and parents, should always be what is the best interest of all the students at Tullahoma. Again, thank you for considering my application to serve as an interim school board member. Signed, Susan Campbell. Jim Waters. Welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Alderman, I'm here to best possible appointment to the school board. Of course, I love Tullahoma City Schools. I spent 29 years as a principal here, 8 years as a teacher. I got 43 years experience in education. Presently, I work with teachers. I work with teachers from several Middle Tennessee counties. I'm an adjunct professor for MTSU. You asked a question about CE credits. I've actually taught some of those. I really got fired up about being on the school board about a month ago, I guess, or maybe a month and a half ago. I met Mr. Carver. Mr. Carver really impressed me as the superintendent director of schools, and I feel like I could be an asset to help him pursue his goals, because he wants us to be a #1 school system, and I do too. My dissertation, my book I wrote for my doctorate degree was on how to become a #1 school system. I've got a vested interest also. I got two grandchildren who are very intelligent, and I want them to do well in school. One of them, I've told him since he was probably from kindergarten, he's going to be president of the United States. And the other day we was riding up the road, and he said, "Pops," I said, "what if I can't be president of the United States?" I said, "Well, I guess you can be vice president." That's really important to me, because I spent a lot of time. Like today we went fishing and we caught some huge fish, and one of them playing baseball at night, and I told him, Jerry Mathis appreciate this, that playing baseball is kind of like fishing. You have to be patient. So he said, "Okay, Pops." So I'm on the DRUC board, been on it about 20 years. I think we've got a wonderful school board, great people on the school board, got a great director of schools, and I kind of like to be a part of that. And to answer your question, of course, I'd run again. And what's amazing, I don't know where my wife was listening to me and Mr. Carver or not, but when Dr. He's kin of my wife, the man that resigned, my wife said, "I might let you consider running for school board sometime," because she wouldn't let me do it before. So the next morning I was up busy trying to figure out how to try to get that position. So I'm excited trying to be on the school board, because I want to see this school board, I want to see the school system advance to the best possibility in the world, because Mr. Carver's got some great ideas. If you haven't talked to him, he's got some super ideas, and I'd like to be part of that and work with the school board, which I could work with, because I know the school board members, and they're all real competent people, and I think I could make a difference there because of all my experience in education. And this summer I've taught summer school all summer for MTSU as an adjunct professor. This makes my 20th year doing that. So I know what teachers need, what they want, how to help teachers, how to help students, how to become a #1 school system, because Tullahoma has always been a great school system, and we all know that. And we want to keep it going that direction, because I gave my life to the school system, and I sure want to go the right direction. And I ask for the possibility to be on the board, and of course I'll run again now if my wife lets me. Because I was lucky to get to do this, because I was an alderman a long time, and it got down, I kept lying to her because I kept saying I wasn't going to run again. And what was kind of funny now, it wasn't funny then, I had my petition laying on the kitchen table, and I said, "Would you mind signing my petition?" And she said, "Well, do you mind signing my little petition over here?" It was divorce papers. If I run for alderman, that's what's going to happen. I said, well, just forget Alderman. Will. So I've been married 48 years. I want to keep it that way. So, but I would appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Waters? So once again, my question is, just as a formality, but if you are selected, do you agree to take the continuing education class?
Absolutely. You can't, you know, you're a lifelong learner, and you continue to learn. And I'm on the DRUC board, and we have to do the same, which is a good thing. We have a lot of people gripe about it, but we need continued education to do what we need to do in these different jobs.
Very good. Other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We've got just a couple of other items here, and then in just a few minutes, we will have nominations and selection. So next are board reports. Mr. Mathis.
Thank you, Mayor. Had an opportunity today to go and witness Mr. Limbo having the new dog pound named after him, and that's an outstanding facility, and he is very deserving of that, and very impressed with all of that. That's all I have. Thank you.
So we've not approved that yet, Mr. Limbaugh. So, but I think you have a pretty good indication of how it might go tonight, based on what Mr. Mathis just informed us. Thank you, Mr. Mathis.
Yes.
Alderman.
Thank you, Mayor. I have done quite a few things since our last meeting. I was trying to pull them up here to see what I had. We've got a lot of, there's a lot of things going on in the county that's kept me kind of busy also. But a lot of church activities, and one thing in particular that did stand out, and wasn't that important. So
I know you attended the ribbon cutting this afternoon.
I did, and that was great. And being chairman of the Health, Welfare, and Recreation Committee for the county, which is over animal control for the county, this was very exciting for me today to see how we have progressed in such a great animal shelter. And the county, we're always looking for ideas to pattern after it to make things better for the county also. So this was really an experience for me today also, a learning experience. So we're going to be getting more information, I think. The county shelter used to be it never has completely been a no-kill there, but we're trying to go no-kill. And so I think that is the cry of the day, to be no-kill. Got some precious animals that come through there. So.
And you saw Mr. Limbaugh there as well, didn't you?
I did. We had a board meeting the other day for another organization we were both a part of, and I got to see him then. I didn't want to. I knew what was getting ready to happen. I thought, but I didn't want to. I think I kept the secret pretty well. So
good.
Anyway,
he seemed surprised today.
He was very surprised, I think. So that's good.
Thank you, Alderman. Dr. Blanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since I was here last, we had the first inaugural farmers market at South Jackson last Monday night. So I went and got on the phone and figured out what I needed to bring home for my wife so she could cook me a good supper, and it happened.
Yeah.
So I had a big sack of vegetables, and it was. So we have two times a week farmers market. Monday night, as we speak, they're over at South Jackson. And Wednesday morning, they're over at the Lutheran Church. So support our local growers of vegetables. I also attended.
How was the dinner?
The dinner was delicious.
Okay, good. I just want to get a plug in for
my wife, June Ellen. She's an excellent cook.
Good.
I'm lucky to have her. I also attended the APPA national meeting in Austin a couple of weeks ago. It was very informative. I always learn stuff there. Talking about taking continuing education. Yes, sometimes I'm the one griping about having to go, but I always learn stuff about it. We also had a planning commission meeting last Monday. Fairly routine stuff. We'll bring some stuff to the board tonight that we'll vote on. I think, Robin, that all was unanimous, pretty much, wasn't it? There was no the stuff that we're bringing up. Oh, you used to be. It's Ray, your compadre. So, no wonder you looked startled. And I also attended the ribbon cutting this afternoon for the animal shelter. I've been watching it come along over the last year. It's an upgrade to what we have. I'm very proud of it. This community should be very proud of it. Go down there and adopt you a dog. There's some dogs in there right now that gave you puppy dog eyes and said, please take me. I have 3, I don't need 4. I would get to sign one of those divorce petitions, Jim, if I brought another dog home. Other than that, remember to shop Tullahoma if you can, and that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. The supervisor of the animal shelter is here. Did we have any dogs adopted today as a result of that, do you know, of the ribbon cutting?
Had some that, new inquiries to come back and adopt later.
Okay.
The real thing that really happened was we had a lot of people that decided they want to start volunteering regularly with us, and a large number of donations that were dropped the day of. Very thankful for that.
So, speaking on behalf, just for a moment, of the Chamber of Commerce, that was the largest ribbon cutting that I've been to in years. I mean, years. Yeah, great crowd. Alderman Doug.
Yes, I attended the ribbon cutting also, and it was wonderful. And I've got to correct Jimmy, and but I have to let you know we have 3 farmers markets. So the one on Wednesday morning, there's the Monday night, and then 24 hours a day, locally grown, Tullahoma locally grown. You can go online and get yourself some, vegetables and all that good stuff too. So that's my shout out to Linda Reed. She reminded me that the other day. I went to the Housing Authority meeting, and Ms. Carolyn Hutchison, who's a part of our Section 8 group there, she has been there for over a decade, and every time that she has had the CMAP, that's the Section 8 Management Assessment Plan audit, the lowest score she's had has been a 96, and she got a 100 this past year. So very, very great work that they're doing over there at the Housing Authority. And it was drawn to my attention that they are looking for a new member of their AmeriCorps team. So if anybody knows someone who's age 18 to 24, it would be an excellent opportunity for people. We need help with that. So that would be awesome. And I want to also say thank you to all the people who have applied for the school board position. It's really a good thing. And other people who are looking to help children in our area. We do have, I think it's at this point, 125 children who are in need of foster care in Coffee County. And that's up from about 100 this time last year. So there's lots of ways to help. So.
Very good, thank you. So our city attorney is not here. Does he have a report? Do you know?
He does.
Okay, that's fine. So next is our city administrator, and you've got a couple of visitors. So let me recognize you for your report and any introductions you would like to make.
Yes. Tonight, the board is asked to consider a change order on our Collins Street sidewalk project. We also call that the Greenway Connector. And it's a pretty significant change, so I asked for Kurt Glick and Josh Gulick with Los Design to be here tonight to give you a little more background information about what we're proposing. And this is a change that Kurt and I suggested for Los to write up. So it is the city proposing the change order and not the contractor. So I'll turn over to Kurt.
I'll just briefly start out by telling you a little bit of the background of this, and then Josh will take over and give you more details about the change order. But this project started initially as a complete greenway project, which was going to go from the northern terminus of the greenway, which was right behind Cascade Park, and it was going to take it all the way to Tullahoma Plaza Shopping Center, to Ollie's, where it ends now. During that process, one of the property owners that had originally agreed to give us an easement decided not to. So kind of in the middle of it, we had to back up and regroup and decide a design change, and that was to make a sidewalk connector to connect the phase of the Greenway starting on by Franklin Street and Grundy Street, connecting it to the Greenway at Cascade Park. So we came up with that change, and a lot of it was a sidewalk portion. And initially in that design phase, we kind of were considering the sidewalk portion as mostly kind of a greenway sidewalk connection, and really with that goal in mind, connecting the greenways. Along the way, during the construction process, we saw a lot of opportunities to connect the greenway to existing sidewalks in the area, which would make a whole better sidewalk system. So in doing that, that's why one of the reasons why we're getting this change order, making it more of a standard sidewalk section and achieving these connections to the other sidewalks. So I'll turn it over for Josh.
So welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Alderman. Appreciate your time and listening to this matter. I think Kurt's been looking at my slides, but I'm going to illustrate exactly what he said. We're going to just briefly tell you where we've been and where we are and how we want to move forward. So let's see if this will work. So phase one, as we know, is in the Ollie's parking lot that's already constructed. And so we're really happy with how that turned out. And phase two brought the greenway below the bridge and comes out by the road over there. And then phase three was anticipated to be right along the Rock Creek. And unfortunately, easements were not able to be procured, and we had to kind of shift. And we were able to keep the project moving and keep the greenway going by shifting the phase three over behind the library, where they have the storyboard, and it's really nice. And so the sidewalk project that we're working on right now. So phase three, where that is we've done a final punch list. The contractor has a few things to wrap up, but that's done for the most part. We have not given them closeout, but that's moving towards closeout. Now we're underway with the sidewalk portion of the greenway that is going to connect the phase three to the phase two. And so that'll get us the effect that the original phase three would have, so that connects us going forward. So we're under construction, and right now the proposal is to provide some upgrades and to extend the sidewalk to the existing library. So there are wide openings along Collins, and we want to narrow that down, create some standards, and give some guidance for future entries into parking lots in that area. So what the proposal suggests is, again, this is the parking lot for the library. We want to neck that down, really give it a standard 24-foot entrance. Now we want to bring the sidewalk down and the curb. And right now, if you walk out there, you'll see there's a planting strip between the sidewalk and the pavement. And we want to continue that and bring that over. A large part of this change order will be upgrades to storm drainage in the area. There's an existing storm drain. We have to really bring the sidewalk close to the road in order to not interfere with that existing head wall. And so there's been a lot of discussion about how funding has happened and how the initial bid and where we are and what our expectations are. So I did want to go back and talk a little bit about the funding. So when we went up to bid, we're being very conscious about bringing this project in under budget, listening to the client, and really being conscious of our momentum forward. So when the bids came in, as we're seeing all across Middle Tennessee right now, it's very hard to understand how the bids come in. We had a 150% difference between the two bids. The first bid, the low bidder was $197,000. The second and only next bid was $494,000. So it was, we followed up. We made sure that everything was okay and that they didn't miss anything in the drawings. Is everything fine? Yes, everything's good. Can you meet the deadline? Yes, everything's good. So we were very happy with the low bidder because that was substantially lower than even what we were anticipating the cost to be. So as we moved forward, we did uncover some drain pipes that was not on the survey, and we were able to mitigate that for $7,700. And because we did come in under budget, and we believe reasonably under budget, we we are trying to go back and do some upgrades that we thought would be more expensive and we thought would be of higher cost in the initial bid. So I just want to tell you what the impact on that number is and where that would put us in relationship to the second bid moving forward. So we still have, with the $68,000 proposed upgrades and extension, there's still a $219,000 difference between the two bids, the lowest bidder and the highest bidder. So I just wanted to kind of explain that a little bit. This is what the upgrades entail. There's demolition of the existing sidewalks. They're going to put 2 drain inlets in to capture stormwater to keep it from going off the road and onto the property. We are actually raising a head wall on part of the storm drain and adding a head wall to increase to reduce the slope from the sidewalk to the head wall, so it's safer for pedestrians. There's not a drop off on the far side. And then, of course, the traffic control, the seed and straw. They're going to add riprap in areas where they need in front of the head wall and along the roadway, just to make sure that erosion doesn't take place in those sensitive areas. But most importantly, what this is doing is setting the stage for the future of Collins. Since we've gone out to bid, since the project has begun construction, there's been more conversation about, well, we're doing this now to Collins. What does the rest of Collins look like? And the rest of Collins really wants to be a street section where there's curb and there's gutter and there's planting strip and there's sidewalk. So what these upgrades do is they set the stage. They'll narrow down the entrance to the library and they'll say this is the standard, the city standard 24-foot entrance. Instead of right now, I think it's 40 or 50 feet between the light pole and the sign for the library. So we're going to neck that down and really give that a vernacular for moving forward. So that the next series of upgrades will have that same cross section within the right of way. So with that being said, we would like to recommend and request that the change order be approved for that amount. And we hope to move it forward. We're working a little bit on phase 4 and hoping to obtain some easements and keep connecting the Greenway to the community.
Yeah. Where's phase 4 going there?
This is the Ollie's right there. We're in the process of talking and getting easements with the owners and
come back to the George River Bridge. Is that where it's coming to?
Right. There's the bridge. It'll go just up across and cross the road there.
Phase 5 goes to Farah, or is there phase 5?
Phase 5 hopefully would continue along the creek southward.
Okay. But eventually, phase 12 will go to the water treatment plant, or?
Johnson Lane.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice.
Yeah.
Just cost money.
I know, and maybe, I don't know if you're the appropriate person to ask, but I know that I've had several people talk to me about the speed of people on Collins Street. It's 20 miles an hour. So will any of these changes, will that in any way help with the tendency for people to speed or anything like that? Is any of this kind of traffic softening kind of changes, or?
Josh, I'll help with that.
Okay.
Sorry.
I don't think that this one segment alone can do that, but one of the things that when he's saying this kind of sets the stage for how the rest of the area will look, we do want that in all of that Collins Street section from Grundy to Wilson to feel like one campus. And so when you enter it, we are hoping to have that clean curb line and sidewalk on both sides of the road, and it helps to narrow it down. And then of course, we could look at some plantings closer to the road and things like that that are traffic calming measures. I believe the speed is already posted 20.
Right.
But yeah, anything that we could, we may look at some other ways to make designated pedestrian crossing areas that, what did you call it? The dome, a traffic, not a bump.
Traffic tables.
Traffic table.
We raised the entire 10-foot crossing 6 inches.
Okay.
So there's not only a visual cue, but there's also a physical cue that's more than just a speed bump. And that's a really good point. One of these in a specific place has a tendency not to reduce the speed, but over the length of the project, it's the little things that build up. It's the vertical cues that go by the driver that tend to slow the driver down. And I think as we move forward, as we get the crosswalks at Eddy, and as we get the more crosswalks, the paint on the ground, I think it's really going to have a significant impact.
That's good to know. Thank you, because I mean, that's definitely, I think that will be really nice. It sounds like it would be really pretty. Sounds really cool.
Anything else? Thank you for your presentation. So this is later on the agenda. Okay, Ms. Moody, anything else?
I did think I would mention Alderman Duncan and I attended the Joint Industrial Development Board meeting, and I was encouraged to hear some of the changes that they're making. They'll be upgrading their website, and they're actively working with TBA to do some strategic planning that I'm sure we'll be a part of. That was one of those meetings that I think you were thinking of, that we attended.
That's going on that day.
Yeah.
One other thing, I'd like to offer an apology. I did a couple of TV shows last week, and it was mentioned to me that I may have given TAEDC some extra credit for the AOPA fly-in. I did not, and by any means mean to imply that they had anything, TAEDC had anything to do with AOPA. But I was asked a question about TAEDC, and I was giving some of the great things they're doing, like bringing business to the community. And I think someone thought that I may have given them a little bit too much credit there, but I didn't.
They do have a booth at the...
They do,
right.
They do, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and then the one other thing, I have set an item at your dais up there that I will ask that we add this to the regular agenda tonight.
Okay.
And this item is for the police department, and it might be a little bit confusing there, but we had 2 SUVs ordered from this current year budget. Something happened and they weren't able to provide the SUVs, so we switched those for patrol cars. The cost savings, just in that difference between SUVs and patrol cars, is something that we'd like to put towards another vehicle purchase. In addition, there was an accident that resulted in an insurance payment that provided enough funding to buy that 3rd vehicle. So that's what this item is just an attempt to get your approval to buy that 3rd vehicle before the end of this fiscal year.
Got it. 1984. Okay, anything else, Ms. Moody? Good? Okay, so we've got 3 items on the consent agenda. Item number 1978, minutes of the June 10th, 2019 regular meeting. 1979, set a public hearing for July 22nd, 2019 on 2 proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance. 1, to revise commercial uses of allowable in the C1 and C2 commercial districts, and 2, to add the definition of a drinking establishment. Item number 1980, accept grant award of $30,000 from the Tennessee Department of Health Project Diabetes Program for lighting of an outdoor basketball court at the planned Silver Street Park. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Blank, seconded by Alderman Duncan. No discussion. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, vote green. Opposed, vote red.
The survey says.
Oh,
We can't get that thing, and it's still up there.
there we go.
So another Brooks production. Very well done. I'm all the time bragging on him because he does an excellent job.
He does.
Yep. He just forgot to put the screen. Motion passes 5-0. We have 2 items of old business. Ordinance number 1521, an ordinance of the City of Tullahoma, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019, and ending June 30th, 2020, for passage on the 3rd of 3 readings. Is there a motion to approve ordinance 1521? Motion by Mr. Mathis, seconded by Alderman Duncan. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the ordinance 1521, vote green. Opposed, vote red. once again, I want to take this opportunity to thank Mrs. Wilson and Mrs. Moody and the entire team for presenting such a good budget. Has everyone voted?
Everyone's voted.
Motion passes 5-0. Ordinance number 15.
Yes.
We have to amend that budget.
To include the cars?
No.
No.
To include the school budget and the small,
And the tax rate.
capital projects on third reading. What page is that? You're to page 58. We tried to put you did have to make and second a motion to adopt it on third reading, but then we also need a second motion to amend it to accept the revised
Okay, sure.
documents as presented.
All right, it just was, okay. So is everyone clear on the motion? We don't have a motion
let
yet.
you
Is
go
everybody
too
clear on the
fast.
request? Everybody clear on the request? We're
Make a motion to take the amended budget, correct? It includes the certified rate,
What page is
The budget documents as presented.
the budget documents as presented on page 58.
So the second motion will be needed to amend the fiscal year 2020 budget to accept the revised budget documents as presented. Okay, so without objection, we need to back up, okay? My fault. So we need to back up and let's see. Made and seconded to adopt the fiscal year 20 budget on third reading. Then the second motion will be needed. Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion that we second and to adopt the fiscal year 2020 budget on third reading. So let's get that on the floor first of all. Who made that motion a while ago?
Mathis and seconded by Duncan, just to.
Okay, so we've not voted yet. We can pretend like we're not voted yet.
Now.
So now we're going to amend that budget, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And Dr. Blanks, I think, offered that amendment to accept the revised budget documents as presented.
Correct.
All right. So now what we're on now is the motion to amend the budget.
I made the motion. Somebody
and
needs to second
Who's
that.
second?
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, now,
Everybody clear on what we're doing?
we're voting on,
Voting on the amendment first of all.
that's correct, the amendment.
All right.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor of adopting the amendment, vote green, opposed, vote red. All right. Motion passes 5-0. Now we're back on the budget as introduced. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the budget as amended, vote green, opposed, vote red. Motion passes 5-0. I was just trying to move a little too fast there. Okay, everybody clear now? Good? Okay, ordinance number 1522, an ordinance of the City of Tullahoma, Tennessee to repeal and replace in its entirety Title 20-1001, Building and Code Administration Fees, and Title 20-1005, Planning and Zoning Fees of Chapter 10, Comprehensive Schedule of Fees and Charges to be effective January the 1st, 2020. As shown in Exhibit A.
Motion
So
to
the second.
approve.
All right, a motion by Dr. Blank, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Mathis. Any discussion?
How long has it been since we've had an increase in fees? A while.
Oh, it's
2009 is when they were cut in half. I don't
a
know
decade.
Okay.
when they were ever increased.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of ordinance 1522, vote green, opposed, vote red. All right, motion passes 5-0. Item number 1981, consider an appointment of a qualified applicant to the Tullahoma Board of Education for approximately one term, I believe that's 1 year, for the balance of this term, ending upon the election of a qualified successor in the August 2020 election. Okay, so what we're going to do, as always, although it's been a while, the chair will entertain nominations. Nominations do not require a second. Once we have collected all the nominations, then Ms. Golden will pass out a ballot. You'll vote, return it to Mrs. Golden. She will read the results. It requires a simple majority of those present and voting, so it will require 3 votes ultimately of one person before that person is selected. In the event of someone not reaching 3, then the person, the nominee with the lowest number will be discarded, and we'll vote again. Everybody clear? Floor is open for any nominations.
I'd like to nominate.
I'd like to nominate Sid Hill, please.
It's a proper nomination, does not require a second.
I'd like to nominate Jim Waters.
Any other nominations? All right, so then the nominations will cease. So there'll be no further nominations. And Ms. Golden will distribute ballots.
Make sure
You'll
you write
vote.
on the one that has your name.
You'll vote. You'll vote, and I guess you need to sign them since their name's on them all. All right. And then when you voted, return them to Ms. Golden, and she'll read the results. Right, legibly.
What?
Not that Dr. Blanks would ever do that.
I'm a bad writer.
You're a reader, not a writer, huh?
Alderman Dunn voted for Sid Hill. Alderman Mathis voted for Waters. Alderman Blanks voted for Waters. Mayor Curley voted for Sid. And Alderman Duncan voted for Sid. So we have 3 for Sid and 2 for Waters.
Very good. So, Mr. Hill, let me ask you to step to the podium. So, congratulations. At the appropriate time and place, you will be sworn in to fulfill the balance of the term of Dr. Lynn, which will conclude in August of 2020. Any comments that you would like to make?
No, thank you. I think I'm worse than the children. I look back and I said, I won? No, let me clarify, and thank you. The numbers, the data, I'll get that to you. So there's dual enrollment, which includes juniors and seniors, okay? Then there's graduating seniors who are attending Motlow from Tullahoma. And then there are those who are sophomores who had graduated from Tullahoma. So that's why when I got that number, but I'll have the correct number for you in the future. No, just thank you, and I'm here to help.
Good, thank you. And once again, I want to thank everyone for offering their services to the people of Tullahoma to serve on the school board. It's just an outstanding group of people that we're willing to serve, and we appreciate that. Okay. We need to somehow, Mr. Welch, do you have any idea when Mr. Hill might be sworn in? Do you want to do that here or there? Or?
I have to lean on advice of Judge Conley.
Okay. All right.
Do you want me to get in touch with him?
Yeah, just let us know. We'll let Mr. Hill know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Welch, any comments you'd like to make? We've got several of the school board members here too.
I was really, really impressed with the quality of the applicants.
I agree.
The ones that weren't here wrote great statements, and we're happy to have Mr. Hill.
Good. Okay. 1982, change order for Rock Creek Greenway Sidewalk Extension Project. You earlier heard the discussion in the evening. Is there a motion to approve the change order as presented?
Motion to approve change order, please.
Proper motion by Dr. Blank, seconded by Mr. Duncan. Alderman Duncan, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of item number 1982, vote green, opposed, vote red. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 1983, declare 0.212 acres of unimproved right-of-way, Bel Air Drive Extension, west of Cumberland Avenue, as surplus real property for sale, which is going to trigger a whole lot of things to happen before that takes place, but this starts the process. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Proper motion by Mr. Duncan, seconded by?
Second.
Dr. Blanks. Any discussion?
Is this in any way, is this any sort of property that would be appropriate for like any, like water retention or anything like that? Is this something that we should be keeping, you know, undeveloped at all? Okay.
I have that same question. I am at
Hold on just a second. Hold on just a second.
Oh, go ahead.
Ms. Moody, you or someone can answer that question.
I'm going to let our Public Works Director,
Sure.
Ashley Taylor.
Yeah, good question. I'll get to you in just a second.
Board is just, it's just a dead end strip. I can't remember the total length.
It's 185.
185 feet. It's unmaintained by the city. From a public works standpoint, we see no need to keep it.
It backs up to Wilson Avenue Church of Christ property.
It does.
It
does. It dead ends to that point. It has no other way to exit any other place.
Okay. Any other questions of Public Works Director here? No? Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Let me ask you to step to the podium. If you would state your name and address, please.
My name is Rhonda McClintock, and I do have the
Welcome.
property at 703. Same question. The ditch does run back down on the back side of my fence, and it does come down through in the drainage. There is a drain there. I'm not sure what the size of it is. So it also comes down, of course, on both sides and comes out, and then it runs into the end of the road down there. So I do understand that it is the surplus property, and it does back in. Would like to know, I haven't looked up, just found out this information and probably need to know more. A proper survey would be nice in flags. We just got the grid and that was it. I'm not opposed or against it, just need a little more information about it. I've had drainage problems at another property, so I've been through this before. So just, you know, the property on the other side is the church. I don't know if that's one property or two. If there is a suggested plan to continue the road or not, I'm not sure what your plans are, so.
Okay, good
really
question.
had
So
statements.
let me ask you to communicate with Ms. Moody, and if she'll share with her your information after the meeting, if you don't mind. And we'll get all those questions answered.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And the discussion. Ready to vote? All those in favor of 1983, vote green, opposed, vote red. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, now we're an ordinance of the City of Tullahoma, Tennessee, amending the annual budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019 for passage on the first of 3 readings. All right, so we're in the process of amending the current year budget.
Motion to amend the current budget.
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Proper motion by Dr. Blank, seconded by Alderman Duncan. Any discussion? This will be the first of 3 readings. All those in favor vote green, opposed vote red. It sort of is what it is. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, this is going to be a controversial one here, I know. So y'all just bear with me for a minute. So this is resolution number 1791, a resolution to name a building in Tullahoma the Limbaugh Animal Shelter. You'll see on your agenda, and I don't normally read these, but if you'll indulge me for a minute, I think it's important that the people in the audience and Ms. McCullough and people watching on TV has access to this. A resolution of the Board of Mayor and Alderman to name a building in Tullahoma the Limbaugh Animal Shelter. Whereas Wayne Limbaugh served the citizens of Tullahoma, Tennessee for 23 years from 1994 to 2017. And whereas Wayne Limbaugh, due to his dedication and work ethic, was promoted to Director of Public Works in the year 2000. And whereas as Director, Wayne Limbaugh accepted additional responsibilities, including IT, and because of his big heart for dogs, the animal shelter operations. And whereas he embraced his new role as animal shelter manager by creating a caring and compassionate facility unlike Tullahoma had ever experienced. And whereas he was a leader in initiating numerous innovative programs, such as establishing the animal shelter as a no-kill humane shelter, striving to keep animals alive and healthy. whereas he introduced customer-friendly adoption programs, creative marketing, and a volunteer program, and empowered the Friends of the Animal Shelter to help care for the animals, host fundraisers, and engage the community in all aspects of the animal shelter. And whereas he worked to establish strong partnerships with local veterinarians, recognizing that medical care is critically important for the well-being of the animals. And whereas he was the driving force behind the annual Bark in the Park community event, raising support for medical services by inviting dogs and their owners to compete in fun competitions such as the shortest tail. I assume these are for dogs. Longest ears, again, that was for dogs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Tallest dog, best mixed breed, best trick, best costume, owner and dog look-alike, and the crowning of Mr. and Miss Tullahoma Canine. And whereas it is now fitting that we honor Wayne Limbaugh, who devoted so much of his time to the care and stewardship of the Tullahoma Animal Shelter, and always demonstrated there are two types of work. There's hard work and there's teamwork. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Tullahoma as follows. This resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage, the public welfare requiring it, this 24th day of June 2019. So the chair will entertain a motion that we approve resolution
I make a
number
motion to
1791.
approve.
Second.
Proper motion by Mr. Mathis.
Second.
Host of seconds, including.
Seconds.
Oh, second, oh,
Fourth,
sorry, second,
fifth.
sorry.
So, any discussion?
Yay.
Yay. Good point. Yeah. All those in favor of resolution 1791, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Going to be close, Wayne. Oh, look at that. 5-0. Unanimous. Mr. Limbaugh, let me recognize you at the podium.
It'll be short and sweet. I do want to mention something though, because down at the shelter, I failed to recognize the people who help make this happen. First of all, our staff, all these games and stuff. I had staff that came up with this stuff. When you're the director, if something goes wrong, you get the blame for it, and if something goes right, you get credit for it. But it wouldn't have been done by myself, and especially with help from Robert Taylor. I want to thank the citizens of Tullahoma because they were fantastic. We raised all the medical money that the animal shelter has, at least it did when I was here, and I assume it's still that way, is raised, through donations. And just from the turnout that we had today down there, I think it kind of tells you what kind of support that we get from the citizen. And then finally, I want to thank the board because Mayor Curley made a statement today down there that all he did was put money in the budget. Well, if that money is not in the budget, we don't get to do anything. And our board has always supported us through the whole years that I was with the city, and I truly appreciate it. And I truly appreciate this honor.
So I bet there's someone in the audience you'd like to recognize as well.
Oh, yes, my boss. Well, this one. Beth, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Well deserved. We appreciate both of you, actually. Yeah. Okay, you have one agenda item that was spread on the desk earlier. You've heard the explanation by Mrs. Moody. It's agenda item 1984. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, yeah. So let's amend the budget. I'm sorry. Let's amend the agenda. So let me first of all request a motion to add agenda item number 1984 to the agenda.
So moved.
Proper motion by Mr. Mathis, seconded by Dr. Blanks. All those in favor of adding 1984 to the agenda, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 5-0. Now, we have it properly before us. You've heard an explanation by Mrs. Moody. Is there a motion to approve agenda item number 1984, which is now properly before us?
Move to approve.
Second.
Proper motion by Ms. Dunn, seconded by Alderman Duncan. Any discussion? All those in favor, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Did I miss something?
Nope. There we
Motion
go.
passes 5-0. All right, any other business? We are adjourned. We'll go into the beer board portion of the agenda. We have one item, the consent item, BB23, minutes of the June 10th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion approved.
I missed that. Did you catch it?
John and
Blanks, I think. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 19, VB24, consider approval of beer permit application, special events for South Jackson Civic Association, 404 South Jackson Street for the attached schedule of events. Ms. Colleen Saunders will be the manager in charge of beer sales at such events.
Motion to approve and waive the charges.
And to waive any fees.
Any fees, yeah.
Proper motion?
Second.
Ms. Moody.
I did just want to share, South Jackson Association frequently request these special event beer permits. What we've suggested to them is that because the president at the time is always the manager in charge of beer sales, and the first event that president presides over, we do a background check. So we suggested that they provide us just a list of all the events that will occur during that president's tenure, and we'll just try to approve those one time. And so they may or may not have beer sales at all of the events listed, but we just asked them to provide a complete list so we could get it accomplished in one day.
Very good. Excellent. All right, do we have a motion?
We have a motion by Duncan, Blanks, seconded.
Are we ready to vote?
Ready to vote.
All those in favor, vote green, vote red. All right. Motion passes 5-0. Any other business? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Have a safe evening. Thank you all.